Yeah, hope I'm audible. Hello to everyone. Hope everyone is doing good. So, this is for the brief revision or the people who have newly joined. Myself, Dr. G. Srikar Reddy, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Agriculture Extension Education in School of Agriculture, SR University, located in Goa. So, the series has been started Rural Sociology and Educational Psychology. In the series itself, the first lecture has been released previously. So, in the previous lecture, we have studied regarding the word extension education, its etymological meaning, the concept have been covered in the classes. So, in the previous class, if anybody didn't join, so what happened in the previous class is we studied about two words, extension education. So, what is education? Meaning of education, bringing desirable changes in human behavior. In education, we have three different types of education: formal, informal, and non-formal. Then we studied about extension. So extension is helping people to help themselves for increasing the general standards and living. So this was what we discussed in the previous class. In brief, if you see. Uh, so in continuation to the previous class, we can go to the next topic or in continuation to the same topic. Then. So that was about the previous class. In the present class, we are going to see uh, objectives of extension education. What are the See, when we are working, when we are doing something, we need to have a direction of work. So objectives are such kind of directives in which way we need to work. So not only extension, for every work or for every event or for every program, we will in general have objectives. In a similar direction, if we take the concept of extension, the concept of extension or else this terminology or this work, this program, everything considered, it is also having objectives. So now we are going to see what are the objectives of extension. As previously discussed, if you see what is extension, extension is like helping people to help themselves. It is a bridge between research and farming community. It is that particular source which is serving the society by serving the people, uh, concentrating on development. That was roughly the concept of extension in which we discussed detailedly in the previous class. So if you see the objectives of extension education, see the first objective what it is written, identifying the problems. The first objective of extension is extension tries to identify the problem. When I am telling extension is trying to identify the problem, it doesn't mean that extension itself is directly identifying the problem. What extension is doing? Extension is in general helping people to identify their own problems. So how to identify the problems, the procedure and the process. So in that particular aspect, we are going to help people. So extension will identify the problem. So that particular problem is like it need to be identified the public or the people or the farmer itself. So we as a subject extension identify the problems, how they are not solving the problem, why they are not solving the problem, what is the issue. So we need to identify those problems and we need to fill that gap so that people will identify their own problem. So extension assists people in discovering and analyzing the felt and unfelt needs, it is telling. So it is not always about felt needs, it is also about unfelt needs. For example, if you are telling that you are you're feeling what it is called food is not sufficient, nutrients, anemia deficiency is there, then nutrients are not available adequate in women or children. See, that doesn't mean that uh, they are eating very less food or the adequate food is not there. So, if facilities are food or availability is not there, that is the felt need. If you tell that, okay, if food sources are not available, they are not eating adequately, that is felt. Automatically you can identify. But there lies some unfelt needs. For example, if you are consuming food for a particular deficiency, if fiber can fulfill the need, or if a vitamin A or vitamin C is fulfilling that problem, so you are not knowing that particular thing is deficient. So if you automatically eat those things, your problem will be solved. So the identified problems, the easily visible problems are can be classified under felt needs. But some needs are there which may be indirectly affecting your general things. So such indirectly affecting things are unfelt needs. Those are affecting you, but you may not identify those problems. That is can be called as unfelt needs. So extension is assisting people in discovering and analyzing the felt and unfelt needs. Here I am telling again, it is assisting. It is not directly solving the problem. It is assisting people to discover and analyze their own problem. And the second one, if you see, develop leadership. So what is extension doing? It is developing leadership. When I am telling that extension is developing leadership, what is the purpose of developing leadership? So we are discussing about objectives, in which direction extension need to work. Extension need to work in one direction for identifying the problems. It is helping people to help analyze their own problems and felt and unfelt needs. They need to identify, they need to solve. That is first objective. You can see second objective is develop leadership. When we are talking develop leadership, why we need to develop leadership? What is the purpose of developing leadership is the one. See, the role of extension is to change people's life, farmers' life, or society development. So those things will come under role of extension. But that cannot be accomplished directly by a single person. If you see the extension officers are available, they are not adequate enough. They are not matching the number of requirements for the society. For example, if you see the government level of any state, they are having a mandal level officer, they are having a cluster level officer, they are having a district level officer. If you take the lowest level is cluster. For 2 to 3 different villages, one extension agent is there. So if you want to solve any problem, if you want to do anything effectively, that one person need to deal with 3 different villages. If you take 600 is the minimum population of any village, 600 voters for a Gram Panchayat or 500 voters for a Gram Panchayat. So around 1500 members is dealing all alone. So if for example if a sudden pest or a sudden problem has been created, he himself has to convey the information to those 1500 members. It is going to take so much of time. What I am trying to tell is that extension to farmer ratio is very less. Now it is like 1 is to 1600, 1 is to 2000, 1 is to 5000 is also there in different state. So one person is dealing with those many members or farmers, it is not going to work effectively. It is not going to bring the change effectively. So what we are doing, extension tries to develop leadership among the people. Leader is the person who can control, who can influence, who can somehow deal with people. Okay. So what you need to do, if the ratio is more extension to the farmers ratio, then you need to develop some people. Opinion leaders are there, local leaders are there, some naturally evolved leaders are there. You need to identify such kind of leaders and you need to train those leaders for extension process. If farmers are turned into an extension agent, then farmer to farmer extension process is more effective in comparatively to the scientist to farmer or extension agent to farmer, because they believe the people who they are seeing in surrounding. So what we need to do, we need to develop leadership among the people, then automatically leadership qualities or leadership traits help the extension process. The second objective of extension is to develop leadership. So leadership will help for extension work to be done easily. So those are the first two objectives. You can see the second one. Next one is a dissemination of knowledge. Transfer research based information for practical adoption. transmission is the one rules and responsibility of extension from the beginning itself. I am telling. See, whatever the research is happening in scientific community or else research station or somewhere at hubs, that research need to be transferred to the farming community, because that is the purpose of agriculture research. If research is not reaching its end product or it is not reaching the end utilization, then it is of no use. If a scientific, for example, if a mobile is being developed but mobile is not for use, then it is of no use. Similarly, if an agriculture technology developed and if it is not reached to the farmers, then there is no purpose of that agriculture research. So extension is doing the transmission role. Whatever the scientific community is doing, that particular information is transmitted to the farmer. But when I am using this terminology, when I am telling this thing, that extension is transforming or transferring information, it may be a single and simple line. But see, if for example the most common scientific advancement you can see, BT cotton has been introduced few years back. What BT cotton is doing, the scientific community is going to explain in detail that Bacillus thuringiensis bacteria is there. That particular microorganism is going to enter into the gut of pink bollworm, and many enzymatic actions are going to happen. The gut failure will happen. The intake of food will be stopped, and due to lack of adequate nutrients, the insect is going to die. If a caterpillar is died, automatically there is no male or female fly about to develop. If that life cycle is stopped. Basic. This is about basic. They may be more scientific and precise. But all this particular process, we are not going to explain to farmer. If you are not, if you are going to explain completely in detail to the farmer, he is not going to listen or he is not going to understand all those things, because scientific language you may understand, but the scientific terminology and language cannot be understood easily by farmers. So as an extension agent, you need to convey the information to the scientific community from farmers language to science language, then the information from the scientific community to the farmers. So the conversion is the key factor of extension. When I am talking about transmission or transferring information, the scientific information will be framed, but you need to, as an extension agent, you need to convert into the extension language, and which should be understandable to the farmer. When I go to farmers regarding BT cotton, I am going to tell the most problem in your field is pink bollworm, and by using this particular hybrid variety, this variety is going to resist the pink bollworm. I am telling this plant is going to resist. This plant is going to protect itself from pink bollworm. If I tell this particular one line, it is more than enough for the farmers to understand. Okay, if you use this variety, the pink bollworm won't come. Somehow that insect will die due to its genetical problem. It is enough for them. So they will take in such a way information, more simplified. So according to people, according to literacy, according to understandability, according to learning capabilities, you need to analyze many things and you need to transfer the information which is to the intake capacity of the farmers or the farming community. Some people are maybe interested in deep, so you need to convert the information to deep. So what I am intended to tell is, when I am telling extension is transferring information, it means not only just passing a message, it is like understanding and conversion of complete language. Even farmers may tell the local problems in their local language. Those local language may or may not be understandable or available at the research center. So you need to understand, analyze, then you need to give the precise and useful information to the scientific community. So you are acting as a bridge in between these two. Okay. Same. Provide feedback if a solution or if a thing is being implemented. The success or failure need to be analyzed. If it is success, then adoption rate need to be analyzed. If it is failure, then back to the evaluation and process starting. So this is a continuous process you need to do. So these are some objectives. Multiple objects are there, but basically extension work on this four simple principle. For more information, if you are interested, these are levels of objective as discussed. What is objective? Objective can be termed as the direction in which you want to work is can be called as objective. So such an objective has different types of objectives. If you see in the notes which PPT is reflecting or visible. When we are talking objectives, we have three different levels of objectives: general objectives, specific objective, work objectives. Like we have classified into different objectives. The first one you can see is the fundamental objective. Fundamental objective. When I am talking about fundamental objectives, the fundamental objective is that particular type of objective that is working for the universal process. For example, if you are telling what kind of objectives can be called as fundamental objectives, then I will tell humanity, earth, well-being of mankind, democracy, such kind of broader concepts. WHO is there, so these people will work on that broader concept. Such objectives can be called as fundamental objectives. So if you classify the fundamental objectives, then you will get general objectives, which is specific and achievable at your own level. Fundamental objectives are not achievable at your own level or at failure or man level, but general objectives are classified. See, in fundamental objective, you can tell that whole country should be clean and neat. So you cannot clean the whole country. But if you classify those fundamental objectives next to general objectives, then it is like you keep your home and your surroundings clean. You have classified that broader objective into the categories. If you break down, so such type of objectives at your level can be called as general objective. And working objectives next. You are keeping your home clean. If you want to keep your home clean, you need to work on those things. You need to start cleaning. You need to start implementing. You need to start working. So implementation and working objectives can be called as working objectives. Fundamentals are broader, general are categories of fundamentals, and working is specificity in objectives. So this is not, but for your basic understanding, I have explained. That is about objectives, levels of objectives, and scope of agriculture extension. See, when I am telling scope of agriculture extension, uh, what is scope? In general, I want to ask if you want to specify what can be the scope. In general, the English term knowledge I am asking. In general, in objective, we are told objective can be the desired direction in which we want to go can be called as objective. If you want to do something, so you need to have a direction. Some directions or directive principles or guidelines, you can call them as objective. Similarly, scope. What is scope? Scope, if you see where it can be applied, where it can be utilized, what are the places it will be helpful, what is the future implementation of this particular aspect. All those things can be combined with all the scope. So when I am talking about scope of agriculture extension, so we are studying scope of agriculture extension. That means where it can be utilized and where it can be used. So such scope, we are seeing few scopes. Uh, See, subject is there, it can be applied at multiple places in multiple way, in multiple directions, but specifically as per objectives and as per the subject value, where it can be helpful most can be can be checked here. So scope of agriculture extension education. So first is production efficiency. There is a scope for increasing production efficiency. Productivity need to be increased. Production efficiency is need to be increased. Per acre land there can be more product. Per acre land there can we can harvest more product as well as more profits we can get. There is a long scope. There is a vast scope which is available from present to the future and what it can reach. So that gap need to be filled by us. So as a as an extension, you have vast scope to work on production efficiency. You can increase the production efficiency of farmers, crops, society. So all these things, there is a scope. So first one is production efficiency. There is always scope to increase the production efficiency in agriculture. There is one scope where we can apply extension education. Extension education can help in increasing the production efficiency by training farmers, by increasing capacity building, by conducting workshops, by knowing the problems and solving the problems and bringing research information to the farming community. All these aspects can help in increasing the production efficiency of agriculture. So extension will be has key role to play. And you can see second one is youth development. What is youth development? As I told, leadership, the participation of highly active brains and the participation of the capable bodies. So youth need to be developed to leaders. Youth need to participate. Youth need to identify the problems. So if we develop a mindset in the youth, automatically it will sustain for a long period of time. So yeah, developing the capabilities of youth and local people, there is a scope. So, family living, if you see the family living scope, and I'm talking that scope of family living, extension deals with development of whole family. Hmm? So women need to be developed, children need to be developed, grandparents need to be developed, and whole family need to be developed. So there is always a gap for extension to work on different aspects. It is always not only about farming. So when I'm talking development of farming community, community includes children, family, and all those things. So you need to develop as a family. Children need to be educated, and grandparents need to be healthy. Parents need to be having workspace and good income. All these things, there is requirements. So those requirements need to be fulfilled. Extension, there is a scope for extension to work on family living, marketing and distribution channels. So marketing and distribution channel, we have scope to work because we need to identify new marketing, because the producer is not getting the purchaser and purchaser is not knowing the producer. The gap is always there, and there is a vast scope for opening wide markets also. So you can work on extension. Extension can work on marketing and distribution channels, which will increase the profit for farmers and community. Apart from that, natural resources. So when I'm talking about natural resources, if you want to develop something, see why the agriculture is developed in the coastal areas. Can anybody tell? Guess. Wild guess. Wild guess. Anybody? See, the coastal areas always have a water channels which are flowing across the states and merging into the seashore. Sea. So they have abundant water facilities. That abundant water facilities and water sources have helped to establish the farming practices and cultivation practices which has developed agriculture because of water resources. So what I'm intended to tell is there is always development possible from first point itself to natural resources itself. Whatever is available from the nature, whatever is available at free of cost, you need to utilize them properly. If you are not utilizing the natural resources properly, what will happen? It will increase your cost, because something which is available free, you are not utilizing it, and those things are brought uh, from outside by investing. So it is like your loss, your profit is going to be lesser. Example you can take, you have a very good government school in your state, district, mandal or village, and it has a good record of education and all those things. And suddenly there is a fancy private school. If you are investing money and you are giving same kind of education, so it will be your foolishness, because if the output is same, if the facilities are same, if the productivity is same, and if something you are getting through government, if you are not utilizing those things, it is also waste of time. So there are multiple policies, multiple abundant facilities. Natural resources for agriculture is like that particular aspect which can somehow help the soil type, the climate condition, the soil structure and texture, and marketing facilities, demand, supply, all those things will come into play. So what what this particular objective is trying to tell us, there is a scope for utilizing natural resources which are available in your local facilities or society If you utilize them properly, automatically the investment will be reduced and profit will be increased. So extension has a vast scope to utilize or train farmers to utilize the natural resources. Farm management, right? So farm management is like utilizing your own facilities and all those things properly. So there are new techniques in farm management. There are abundant scope and improvements in science and technology. Those things need to be implemented farmly. If you are being traditional laggard and if you are not implementing the regular or old one only, then there is always scope to improvement because new technology, new facilities will ease out your work and increase the profit. So farm management is efficiently if you manage farm, you utilize the resources, and if you bring more productivity from same piece of land, it will be more profitable. So extension has scope in farm management. How people they are managing farms. So we need to somehow set them new examples and facilities and availability of information so that they can utilize the knowledge properly and do more efficiently managing their farms. Okay, this is scope and importance of extension education. That is in general scope and importance of extension education. So why extension matters? After listening all those things, you need to tell why extension matters. Anyone from you just imagine after listening the definition of extension education, uh, importance of extension, scope of importance. Why extension matters? This can be the easiest question from yourself because after listening scope and importance concept of extension, if we cannot tell one good reason or two good reasons uh, for why it is important, then there is a problem. So yeah, why it is important? Why extension matters to the society? As one, it is given, it bridges the gap. Okay, whatever the gap and lacuna is there, need and training requirements are there. All those things will be fulfilled by extension. Extension fills that gap. Extension fills that gap. So a gap between farming community, gap between the farmers. So in between those two, whatever the gap is there, that gap needs to be fulfilled by extension itself. Extension is trying to fulfill the gap between the farming and researchers. If those two things come together, all problems will be identified easily, all solutions will be reached to farmers easily. Then the development will increase rapidly, and then there will be scope, and then there will be uh, fasting the process of development. So extension helps to bridge the gap and accelerate the changes. Whatever the changes that are going to happen, whatever the changes that are expected, those changes, if extension perform properly, if extension does it work properly, it will accelerate the changes. It will fasten the process because extension literates the farmer, trains the farmers, develop leadership qualities among the farmers, bringing scientific information to the community problems to the research stations. All these aspects, what it will do, together, all these processes will speed up the process. They will fasten the process. So automatically the development will happen in society. Automatically the changes in science and technology can be applied. Automatically the problems will be identified. So extension plays that key role in speeding up the process. Okay, so that is particularly about why extension matter in general. Many aspects are there. So up to here we have discussed the one particular unit or one particular common point. From next we will have a change. So what we discussed today is scope and importance of extension education. Apart from scope and importance of extension education, we started with extension education. We tried understand the concepts of education. Then we understood the concept of extension. Then we have discussed various definitions of education and various definitions of extension. Then we see the objectives. what extension will work on, we saw that. After that, what we did, we saw the scope where it can be applied. In scope, I have discussed few points, but it can apply. Extension has a vast scope. It can be applied to literacy, it can be applied to education, it can be applied to women development, it can be applied to farm development, it can be applied to plant protection activities, it can be applied for workshop, it can be applied on development of personality, it can be applied on training extension agencies, training extension personnel. It has various scope wherever there is a need, because extension is always about bringing the change. So change can be brought anywhere, so it is applied to multiple stages. Okay, so I just give few points, but many points are there, as there is vast scope, as I said. So we discussed extension education, concepts of extension education, then scope and importance of extension education. Hope everybody understood. Uh, brief detail with the example we are going. So if anybody has any doubt, in the first slide itself I have dropped my details. You can contact me, or else you can drop the comments below the video. Thank you. Hope everyone understood. Have a good day. Nice to meet you.